Well, first tonight to the school teacher who's been told he will never be released from prison after murdering and sexually assaulting his adopted 13-month-old son.
Preston Davey died at Blackpool Hospital in July 2023 after suffering a catalogue of physical and sexual abuse at the hands of Jamie Varley.
The former head of year, who's now one of just 70 prisoners in the UK to be given the whole life term, was sentenced after being found guilty of murder and other charges, including sexual assault and taking indecent photos of baby Preston.
His partner, John McGowan-Fazakerley, was handed 25 years after being found guilty of allowing the death of a child, cruelty and sexual assault.
Our correspondent Mel Barham was at Preston Crown Court today and joins us now. Mel.
Well, the court was packed out for this sentencing today. It was an emotionally charged hearing where we heard heartbreaking victim impact statements from both Preston's biological parents and his foster parents. And in stark contrast to the dramatic events on Wednesday for the verdicts, Jamie Varley looked dazed and showed no emotion as he was handed a whole life term. Police today describing him as an evil and monstrous individual and one of the most extreme examples of sordid and wicked behaviour.
They are the giggles of a baby who months later would face unimaginable horror. This was little Preston Davey in the loving care of his foster family, just before being placed with his adoptive parents, who were today described as truly wicked men.
No, this is not happening. This is the Lord. This is not happening.
On the night Preston died, Jamie Varley, a high school teacher, had concocted a story that Preston had drowned in the bath. But it was all a lie, and the multiple injuries to Preston's tiny body told a very different story. Bruises, both internal and external, consistent with sexual abuse.
You were the only person with Preston that afternoon. It was you who did this. You murdered him.
Sentencing him to a whole life term, the judge, Mr. Justice Turner, said the seriousness of his offences was exceptionally high.
This is a case of the utmost extreme gravity. You will stay in prison for the rest of your life. You will never be eligible for parole.
Varley's partner at the time, John McGowan-Fazakerley, was also convicted of sexually abusing Preston and allowing his death. Today he was sentenced to 25 years and told he will serve 2/3 of that in prison.
Well, no sentence will ever be enough for what these truly wicked men did to an innocent child. I welcome those handed down to them today. I hope it gives some comfort that both Varley and McGowan-Fazakerley will be behind bars for a significant period of time.
Outside court, Preston's biological mum was supported by Preston's grandmother as her victim impact statement was read out.
They took away his chance to grow up, to go to school, to make friends, to live a full life. What makes it even more unbearable is knowing that his death was not an accident. It was something cruel and something that should never have been allowed to happen.
Fighting back tears, Preston's foster parents read their impact statements in person in court, saying Preston's death had devastated their lives. Preston's face would light up when we looked at him, Sandra said. He was joyful, so content and happy, with sparkly, smiling eyes. This is how we want to remember him.
Again.
Preston should have been celebrating his 4th birthday 2 days ago and be getting ready to start school. Instead, he will forever be 13 months old.
Well, tonight, of course, there are now serious questions about how this horrific murder was able to happen. England's Children's Commissioner today branding it a failure of the state and the safeguarding system, and is now calling for a child protection authority to be set up.
The difficult questions should have been asked. And I want to know, why weren't the social workers all over this? Who went to bed at night thinking, is little Preston Davey okay? Who was there worrying for him and thinking about him? And as Children's Commissioner, I'm not waiting for the safeguarding panel review. That's happening. That will take months. I'm not going to let this turn into a case history, lessons to be learned. I want answers to these questions. I'm using my powers. I've got data powers. I've already been calling and asking for this. I want to know what happened to this child.
Well, that child safeguarding review by Oldham Council will, of course, look at whether there were any missed opportunities. Tonight, Blackpool South MP Chris Webb, along with Preston's biological parents, are calling on the government to launch a national inquiry into what they're calling the safeguarding failures. Meanwhile, the NSPCC say there are clearly lessons to be learned, but in a statement said it's vital to remember that we can all help keep children safe by asking questions, sometimes difficult questions, and by sharing information or concerns with someone who can help. We can create a safer environment for children to grow up in and help ensure that no child falls through the gaps. Well, in court today, the judge thanked the jury for what he described as an extremely challenging case that they had to endure, a case where they had to listen to the most horrific evidence. But of course, at the heart of this case was a baby who never got to grow up, a baby who was described today as perfect from the moment he was born.
Yeah, a really harrowing case. Mel, in Preston tonight. Thank you.